and we're off. So, Dino, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Pleasure.
As you know, I've been looking after researching along the talent development system of Blackburn Rugby Club for the previous season. Working with yourself, working with the junior colts and some of the age groups going downwards. So this presentation today is all about what factors and what systems we can implement into the club to make it run smoothly and develop talent. At different parts of the presentation, I'll ask if you've got any questions. Feel free to write down as you're going.
Yeah.
And we'll take it away. At different points, I'll be reading out some references. They're just the names in the brackets. No need to worry about those, just in case. So if you'd like to introduce yourself before we start, and then I'll get going.
My name is Dino Radici, and I'm the Director of Rugby at Blackburn Rugby Club.
Happy days. So if I share my screen with you now, and then we can get on the roll.
Great.
Can you see that okay now, yeah?
Perfectly.
Happy days. So we've already been through this. This is just a title slide. So this is the process of developing talent within Blackburn Rugby Club. And then obviously it's got your name at the bottom there. So what we're going to go through first is we're going to speak about the main threat which has been identified. This threat is sociological factors for me. We're more focusing on parent involvement, parent development. Parent involvement and parent development can make or break an athlete, in my opinion. It can pose a very big impact, especially on such a junior age group. So if we want to move on, the whole factor itself is called sociological factors. This is the parent athlete. So sociological factors within the rugby club, as I've just mentioned, have been identified as a potential threat towards the club, as the parents. Sometimes we found they're not willing to give the players the independence in expressing themselves that they'd like. So with careful construction, obviously, and systems that are put in place, we can address this correctly. Obviously, this can prove to be very beneficial in the progression of a young athlete, and can also benefit the club moving forward. Obviously, the research which supports this is by Jowett and Kramer, 2010, which explains that when conflict is present within the parent-athlete relationship, athletes, the physical self-concept is affected by feeling less physically skillful and athletically looking, thus hindering their performance. So if the coach, the parent, and the athlete are all singing on the same hymn sheet, and keeping in mind the athlete who take the pitch every single week, keeping in mind that aspect of they're the ones that it's infecting. It's nothing to do with the parent and the coach, whether they've got an argument or whether they've got any previous history. It's more towards how can we benefit? How can we help the athlete? How can we work together to make sure that the athlete's doing their best and we're doing right by them? So why is this a threat? Parents play a massive role on the development of the athletes, as we've previously mentioned, and especially even more so as they're moving through different age groups. Obviously, we know that the support on this comes in the form of like financial, emotional, and physical support on the player's journey, and that's by Hoyle and Left, 1997. Further on from this, young athletes' involvement in high-level sport is heavily dependent on their parents. Parents can be in the shape of they're just dropping the kids off, or they can be in the shape of the coaches, so they've got interactions with them all the time. Baxter and Jones, 2003, highlighted that many talented youngsters with less motivated parents, or parents who stick their nose in too much, they'll tend to drop out of the sport later on at an early age. The model that you can see just on the right, it's been taken from, it's called the talent development model, and it's by Bloom. So if you can see the three stages there, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, initiation for early years, 6 to 12, that's when they're just getting started within the sport. that's when, you know, they're finding the steps, they're finding the process, what they want to do. Stage 2 is mainly the age group that we're looking at. That's the developmental stage. That's where, you know, they start finding the feet. They know what they want to get into, and then that's where the information gets threaded into them. But in reference to Bloom's talent development model, for children to move from stage 2 to stage 3, they need the independence. They need to be able to go out, express themselves, and be creative, so that they can find their own feet. And obviously, as coaches, we try to facilitate that into the specialization aspect, you know, the creativity phase, into a chosen sport for later years. So that's when they stick with it from 16 onwards. But the measures that we're going to talk about now, which we put in place, are parental workshops. The workshops that which will be implemented into the club, they can provide parents with valuable information regarding the club and the sport itself. You know, these can be in situations in like specific rule changes that may need explaining or considering before going into the season. Sort of like a really good one, and it's relevant, is the effect of COVID-19 on the rules that are going to be put in place if we do manage to get any fixtures. This is supported by Clarke and Harwood 2014, who say that the information is important to consider for interventions and educational workshops with the parents. So doing that, we help them understand, we give them some ownership, you know, they understand how much of an impact they have on their children. I'm conscious I've been talking for a little bit. Do you have any questions so far?
I've agreed with everything you've said regarding the importance of parenting. And you mentioned with the parent workshops, we'll be providing information regarding the club and the sport itself. Yep. Other than rule changes, what other information do you think, or should we look to include to benefit the parents?
So in the parent workshops, we'll look to implement things such as the team ethos that we're trying to create, the coaches' objectives for the season moving forward, what they want to achieve, and equally the players' objectives, what we expect from the players. And also it can be a stepping stone to get the parents more involved on a match day, or, you know, behind the scenes day, in a way they can understand the whole running of the club. And they might look to get involved. But that's, so creating the aims and objectives and the expectations of what you know, the coaches would like. And leading on to that, if you look in the bottom left corner where it says the player, coach, parent, success, that's called the inter-athlete triangle. It's not a triangle at the moment, but, you know, and usually it will be. And as you can see, each coach, parent, player, if everything's intertwined and they're all on the same wavelength, and they're all looking at what's best for the athlete, what's best for the team, in the middle it reaps success. Yeah. So before I move on, do you have any more questions surrounding this, the measurements put in place?
Referring back to the measures slide and the parental workshops being implemented, after these workshops have been put in place, if a parent is still questioning this method and causing possible issues, do you have a plan B, or what ways can this be avoided?
So it's not so much a plan B. Great question. It's not so much a plan B as in, we would look to set up the parental workshops maybe after either each term or monthly, so that the information is fresh. We can look to set goals, or they can look to set goals. They can hit the benchmark, right, another workshop. What's the next goal? What do we want next? What are we striving for next? It might just be a case of they've forgotten what happened in the previous one, in the pre-season one. So it might just need a refreshment. And with that, we can look at maybe doing weekly newsletters. Weekly newsletters to send out to the parents, so that, you know, they know that we're showing investment, they know that we're showing interest, and we've not forgotten about them, and so that they know what's going on within the club.
Okay.
The benefits that this can play, we spoke briefly just then about the benefits. as it's proven by Hull and Left on the previous slide, parents are a huge part within a young athlete's sport and career. Following on from this, research by Worthley and Alfman in 2004 explained that the parental support is fundamental to children's participation and success within the sport. And then supporting this, I found more research by Norton and Nuffield 2002, who have revealed that the parents do appreciate parental workshops that serve to provide knowledge and information relative to the scenario that they face. So it's more like, you know, they're being included, that last one. They appreciate the investment that we're doing, they appreciate all the effort that we go to make the whole system tick and work. Okay. So we're going to move on to opportunities for Blackburn Rugby Club. We just spoke briefly about the social factors, they're the threats. These two, however, I've picked these two because they can be combined a little bit. They show similarities with the two. So we'll move on to the opportunities which Blackburn can reap from. So the opportunities that we've just chosen to discuss is the biological factors. And biological factors have been identified as a huge opportunity for Blackburn to develop the homegrown talent and nurture them towards the right paths of senior rugby at the club. Research to support this is by Ford et al. 2012, and it highlights that during growth, there are measurable changes in body shape and structure at different stages of an athlete's development, which I believe, utilised in the right manner, it can be a massive benefactor within Blackburn's infrastructure. So why are we thinking of this as an opportunity? Looking at the structure that Blackburn have put in place at the moment to develop their athletes moving forward towards age grades right up until first team level, it's very basic. It's sort of like the coach sees a good player, fantastic. We'll wait until he's in the next age group. Next coach is right, he's a really good player. Next age group, he's a really good player. And they stick with the age groups the whole way up. That's great. However, it doesn't offer much in regards to the athlete development. Development in that age group, fantastic, yeah. However, moving forward, when they start to get introduced to the senior aspect, the cult side of it, the senior side, sometimes you might find that athletes who haven't been put in that scenario sooner shy away from it a little bit. And it also provides equal opportunities, which, you know, if a player's doing really well and they're absolutely battering everyone within their age group, but move them up, test them, provide them with an equal opportunity to shine at a greater scale, if you will. And as it stands, children are grouped according to chronological age. This has been proven to be a slight disadvantage by Crawford, Dearden and Meghir 2007. They support this as they have mentioned that within a competition setting, grouping children by chronological age can in fact affect their future and progressions within the sport. So similar to what we spoke about within the sociological factors, we are going to look at the measures again. The measure which we put in place to fix this is a system called biobanding. And biobanding attempts to accommodate individuals' differences in size, strength and power associated with the variation in maturity status by grouping youth athletes into specific bands defined by the percentage of the predicted adult height at the time of the observation. Further on from this, biobanding is potentially useful for both identifying and developing talent. It may facilitate the accommodation of maturity variation when evaluating an individual's talent, and also provides an appropriate environment and challenges in which individuals varying in maturity status can optimally develop. Again, conscious that I've been talking for quite a bit, so if you've got any questions, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, specific bands defined by percentage of predicted adult height at the time of observation. What if you predict wrongly?
Obviously, we'll be monitoring it throughout the season. We'll be monitoring their progression. We'll be monitoring, you know, their height, so to speak. So if we have predicted wrongly, then we can always reverse the process of the players and maybe bring them back down. Maybe us as coaches, we might have made a mistake. Reversing the process, obviously we bring them back down from, say, the under-16s to the under-15s. Sometimes
would that not have a negative? Would that not have a negative impact on the player if you reverse the process?
As we'll be monitoring the players throughout the season, we can. Yes, I agree with you. It can have a negative impact, but as we're going to be monitoring those players throughout the season, we can keep a watchful eye on them. We can look if they decline in, decline on a training session or a game day, and maybe they're not just interested, or maybe their head's down more often than not, or maybe they don't rock up. If that's the case, then we can address that by getting in touch with them, make sure that they've not done anything wrong at all. It was us as coaches who put them in that step. They haven't done anything wrong, and maybe then we can work as a plan with them, with the mum, with the dad, in ways to address this, and how we can get them back into that scenario, making sure that it works here. We've addressed this. We know what we want to do, so let's fix a system, fix out a development, maybe fix out a gym workout, conditioning session, so that they get that opportunity again, making sure that they know that it's not the be all and end all if they have to get dropped down back to their own age group at the end of the day.
So communication.
Exactly, yeah. Which is vital.
Being a role model.
And like I said,
respecting you.
That can come in with the social aspect as well. It goes back to that inter-athlete triangle. As long as we're all on the same wavelength and on the same hymn sheet, making sure the athlete hasn't done it, making sure they know that they haven't done anything wrong, then we can, move towards success.
You respecting them respecting you,
exactly.
Communication, all the things you've mentioned. Yeah.
We're going to move on, and it's the last slide that we're going to talk about, and it's the benefits that it'll have on the club. So the benefits that it'll have on the club is, you've got the potential for athlete exposure here. And this is important, is research which has been shown by Bradley 2019, that when the players are categorised by age, young players that do experience early maturation have the increased chances of progression and development. Might be the case of they want it more, might be the case of they go in, they learn off the other players, and they shine out. This means that they're able to be spotted by elite level clubs, even though the performance sometimes might find that the performance may not be to the standard of another player within that age group, maybe their opposite number. However, with the other player being older, there's still the area of maturation there. There's still area of the younger player growing, learning from the other player. So there's loads of key aspects for them to develop on, and this can be identified like you can see on the slide. Lancashire Rugby and Sale Sharks, as they're the closest systems for us. And it's also, with this being said, and with everything that we've mentioned in the slides, it's also a chance for the athlete to have some reassurance that they're being looked at, they're being looked after. Like we said about the moving up and maybe dropping them back down again, it's not a bad thing. We're trying stuff out, we're trying to get the best out of them. And which can nurture, can promote the homegrown talent. We're willing to show investment in the athletes, in the children who are playing, willing to show the investments in them. So they'll feel a sense of at home, like a home ethos within the club. And like I said, that can be identified within the parental workshops, not the bumping up and down, because a parent might get a little bit funny and say, well, why are you doing that with that child and not with mine? However, promoting the ethos and promoting, what we're looking to achieve. But yeah, so that's it now. That's just my reference list there. Any questions before we finish, Dino?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it there.
Happy days. I'd just like to say again, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to for me to share this presentation with you. I do believe that if we can implement it within the club and the development system itself, I do believe that there might be areas for development, and the club might reap rewards at a junior level, and we might see a little bit more growth and expansion. But if you're happy,
Yeah.
I'm happy. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. No problem.
So I'll stop sharing my screen now, so it's just the two of us. Yeah, I'm all happy. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your evening with me.
Not at all, mate. No problem at all.
Fantastic. Right. Thank you very much, Dino.